welcome everyone. So I will share screen now and then we will start with today's session. Okay, so if everyone's ready, let's start with paying respect by reciting Namo Tassa for 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Homage to the sublime, the victorious, the totally self-enlightened one. Okay. So, today we are going to continue with different types of cittas. And as we said before, the Abhidhamma is like a map of ourselves, right? So we are looking at what kind of cittas, what kind of mind arise in us in our daily life, everyday life. So previously, we have already seen that if we imagine the mind to be like a graph with the different frequencies, then we have from the very daily worldly minds, which can be either wholesome or unwholesome, as well as those cittas that are resultant, that our eye consciousness, nose, ear, and all these 5 sense consciousness, we have already seen in the sensual plane or the Kamavachara cittas. So these are the ones with good roots, with bad roots, those are without roots, and then we have also seen some resultant with roots also, and then we have also seen some functional cittas, right? So these are the ones that we are very familiar with. Those are the cittas that arise in us all the time. Now, today we are going to look at the potential of the mind. What kind of mind can arise through cultivation and the practice of meditation, the practice of meditation, right? So now we're moving to another category of cittas, which are the meditation about jhana, which are called the Rūpāvacara cittas, the 5 cittas with the characteristic of the 5 material plane, as well as the Arūpāvacara cittas, so the cittas with characteristics of the non-material plane. Then further, the mind can still be developed more, and supramundane cittas, Lokutara cittas, can also arise. So those are the potentials of the mind. It is possible through meditation practice, samatha and vipassana, the mind can be refined and can be cultivated. And all these kind of different cittas, not only the sense realm ones, can also arise in us. So let's just, as a revision, let's take a look at the classification of cittas according to planes, which we have already seen before. Now, Kamavachara cittas, we have finished all of them already, the cittas with characteristic of the sensual plane. Then we have the Rūpāvacara, which is the ones that we are going to look at today. Those are the cittas related to jhana that take concept based on matter as object of meditation. About this, we're going into details later today. Then we have the Arūpāvacara cittas, which are cittas related to jhana that takes non-material qualities as the object of meditation. And those Lokutara cittas are those cittas that takes nibbana as object. So those are actually the cittas of the enlightenment, no? Okay, so from sense realm, Kamavachara cittas, now we're moving on to the next category, Rūpāvacara cittas. Okay, so Rūpāvacara cittas are those cittas with characteristics of the 5 material plane. So let's take a look at the name itself. Rūpa, meaning matter in Pali, and Avachara, as we have seen previously, means moving in or frequenting or plane, right? So these cittas that move in or frequent in the 5 material plane are called the cittas, Rūpāvacara cittas. Okay, now these cittas, the first types that we are going to look at are actually the jhana cittas. Those are the cittas that arise in deep meditative states. So these types of cittas arise when a person is meditating, and when they when the mind get very concentrated, then this kind of jhana citta may arise in the person, in the meditator. And specifically for these types of jhana cittas to arise, one must practice the samatha meditation, which is tranquility and one-pointedness meditation. So with this type of meditation, the objects of meditation, there are many kinds actually. So some we are quite familiar with, like the anapana, like the breath. And then we can also have practice metta, loving kindness. Then we have the 10 kasinas, like the earth disk, water, and color, light, and space. And all these different objects of meditation can be used for practicing samatha meditation. So you see the objects here that these kind of citta takes are different from those that we have studied previously, the Kamavachara cittas, because the Kamavachara cittas mostly take sense objects as its object. No, now for Rūpāvacara cittas, these are cittas specifically that arise only when a person is in deep meditative state. So those are the meditation object that the person is taking. Okay, now for Rūpāvacara cittas as well as Arūpāvacara cittas, which are cittas of the fine material plane and the cittas of the non-material plane, both of these types of cittas arise when a person practices samatha meditation, tranquility and one-pointedness meditation. Okay, now when the person practiced samatha meditation to a very stable and high level of concentration, then jhana arise. I think many of you might have heard this word already, jhana. And sometimes when you read in many different English translation, you might see the word like meditative absorption, even the word ecstasy, and different words are used in for the translation of jhana. But most of the time, we prefer not to translate it so that we don't have different misunderstanding of the word. But now, if we look at the word jhana, what does it actually mean? It is very interesting, actually. Jhana is derived from the Pali root jay, meaning to contemplate and to burn up. Okay, so let's see, what does it contemplate and what does it burn up? Now, contemplate means the mind is looking very closely to the meditation object with a high level of concentration. So this is the contemplation part. And how about the burn up? What does it burn up? It burns up the 5 hindrances for spiritual development. Previously, we have also seen these 5 hindrances, the nivarana. So which are they? Which 5? The first one is sense desire. So anything that is related to something that we are looking at, hearing or feeling, or even something that we have heard about and we have seen about. So those desire for those kind of object, the sense desire is the first one that is a hindrance to the calmness of the mind, right? So this is the first hindrance to jhana, to samatha meditation. Now, the second one is ill will, vyabhada. And ill will here means hatred, anger, depression, worry, anxiety, and all those are included here in vyabhada, ill will. Then we also have sloth and torpor. This is also a kind of mental hindrances, which does not allow the mind to concentrate and to be calm and practice, right? Okay, then we have restlessness and remorse. Then this is very easily understandable. If the mind is restless, jumping here and there, then it is not being able to concentrate. And when the mind is having remorse, like, oh, I should have done this, or oh, I shouldn't have do that, and all those, then that also does not let the mind calm. So this is also another hindrance. Then we also have doubt about, I wonder whether this practice really is helpful, whether it is really going to give benefit, or I don't know if the Buddha's teaching is really helpful or beneficial for me, or all this kind of doubt is also a hindrance for mental calmness. So this jhana, this word means contemplating the meditative object looking very closely at the meditation object with a high level of concentration, as well as burning up the 5 hindrances. Now, these 5 hindrances are those states that do not allow the mind to be calm and concentrated, and in jhana, they are temporarily burned out during meditation. Well, be careful, it is only temporarily here, because to root up all these defilements, we must practice vipassana meditation, and only wisdom can uproot this kind of defilements. So during jhana practice or samatha meditation, these hindrances are temporarily suppressed. The jhana factors, which we are going to look at later on, inhibit these mental hindrances from coming up while we are meditating. Okay, so that's about the word jhana. What does it do? Contemplate and burn up the 5 hindrances. Okay, this is just something interesting that I'd like to share with you. The Chinese word tan and the Japanese word zen actually comes from the word jhana. Now you might know or know about this. So about jhana, what must one do for jhana citta to arise? And what happens when jhana citta arise? Now we are going to look at this. Okay, first, let's look at what must one do for jhana citta to arise. Now, we have already mentioned that in order to get jhana consciousness, jhana cittas, we must practice what is called the samatha meditation, tranquility or one-pointedness meditation, right? Okay. Now, there are 40 subjects of samatha meditation prescribed by the Buddha, and in the Abhidhamma Sangha in chapter 9, in details, we are going to look at all this also. Now, it includes the kasinas, like with the 4 elements or 4 colors or space and light, and then we also have like anapana, the mindfulness of breathing. And also we can practice metta, loving kindness. Now, some of these subject of meditation can lead to jhana, but not all of them. Some of them doesn't. For details, then we will see them in chapter 9, right? Okay, now for anapanasati, I think most of you are familiar with it, the observing the in-breath and out-breath. Then metta also, I think you might be familiar, like having this love, the feeling and thoughts of loving kindness for oneself and for others. And then, so here we are going to take another example, the kasina, just to show a little bit of how this samatha meditation is being done. So let's take kasina, the earth element, as an example. So if one wants to practice the earth kasina, then we can find some clay and put it into a frame or a cloth or something like that, and to actually make a disc of a clay disc. So it is said that around 25 centimeters of diameter. And then when we let it dry, then now what do we do with this earth disc? Now, first thing we do is that we put the disc in front of oneself, not too close and not too far, and look at this disc many times and many times and for many hours. So we put the whole mind, concentrate on the disc itself, looking at it. Kasina, this word actually, it means a total or whole. So that means we should put the mind on the whole of the kasina, the whole kasina disc. Then, putting the mind totally on the kasina, then one repeats in one's mind, earth, 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 like this thousands and thousands of times, just concentrating on the earth element. Then, until one memorizes the image and can see the image in the mind with closed eyes, then in this case, when we can see the image with eyes closed, it is said that we have gotten the grasped sign. In Pali, it is called ugaha nimitta. So in the Abhidhamma Sangha, sometimes it is said the learning sign, you might have heard about it, but Sayadaw Silananda, he said he preferred the word grasped instead of learning, because the Pali word ugaha here means to pick up something or to hold on to something or to grasp something. So that means like when we can close our eyes and then we still see this disc in the mind at that time, that the mind have already grasped this image. So at this point, that image is actually a concept already. It is not reality anymore, because when we look at the kasina, the earth disk itself, it is reality. But when we see the image in the mind, then it becomes a concept. Then at this point, then we don't need the disk anymore. Then one can practice anywhere, then because you can see the disk in your mind already. Okay, so now taking this concept, that's why it's called concept based on material property, no? Okay, so next, what do we do after that? Then after that, when one concentrates on that mental image again and again, the hindrances will become less and less, and they will be suppressed. Then after that, the mind becomes clearer and clearer, and the image also becomes clearer. Now, when you see the earth disk, you may see that when we initially look at the disk, there might be some defects, like some cracks or some lines or some dots or something in the disk, right? So at this time, when the mind and the image becomes clearer and clearer, the sign, the image itself also become clearer and clearer until it becomes like a polished mirror. So at this point, the sign, this nimitta, is now called the counterpart sign. Patibhaga nimitta. So we continue practicing until the image appears as clear as the polished mirror. Then after that, then one continues to concentrate on the clear mental image until the mind has become so clear and all the mental hindrances have settled down. Then at this point, when the mind becomes so concentrated, at one point, jhana cittas arise in the mind. So these jhana cittas are actually not sense sphere cittas. They are Rūpāvacara cittas, no? So that's why they are called the cittas of the fine material plane. They take the concept of material quality, Rūpa, as an object. Okay, so this is just like a very simple explanation of how the kasina meditation, samatha meditation with an kasina object is being done. So one practice continuously, practice, then until the mind is very concentrated, and the jhana factors, which we are going to look at in a little while, when those factors are well developed, then jhana cittas will arise in one's mind. Then that is when we call one gets jhana, right? Okay, so there are, this is just an interesting information. There is actually some temples and meditation centers in Thailand. I saw this on YouTube, that they actually practice kasina, this color kasina. I saw this video. Then they have this meditation hall, and they have different this color disc, and the meditator will sit there and then look at the disc, just like the way we said when one look at the earth disc, right? Like this. So I keep looking at it. First, they look with open eyes, then he closes his eyes and then see the disc in the mind. And then he opens the eyes again and look at it again. And then he closes his eyes and then he sees again until he gets the image into his mind already. So it looks like many practitioners, they are practicing this kasina, color kasina together. Okay, so this is just because we saw this YouTube video, so I find it interesting just to share it with you. So if you're interested, color kasinas are actually easy to make. So you just need to make a board and cut out a color circle, and then put it there, and just like these meditators here, just sit in front and contemplate on the color and concentrate the mind there. Okay, so previously we have said that we have seen that all kinds of cittas must have an object, right? So it must take an object that matches itself. The object itself is actually compared to a walking stick that helps the person walk. So the mind is compared to the person, and the object is kind of like the walking stick, right? So it is necessary. Object is very important also for cittas. So the Kamavachara cittas that we have seen previously are those cittas that takes the sense object as its object. And now Rūpāvacara cittas, the difference here is it takes the concept that based on material property as its object. So there are different kinds of cittas here. Okay, now Rūpāvacara cittas are divided also inside Rūpāvacara cittas, they are also divided into 3 categories. First, we have the Rūpāvacara kusala cittas. So they are called the 5 material wholesome cittas. So those are the ones that arise when a person is meditating. And when the mind is concentrated enough, then this kind of Rūpāvacara cittas arise in the mind of the person. Now here you see it is kusala, wholesome cittas. So that means it's actually action, right? So it is planting seeds. They arise in, if we talk about the mental process, if you still remember, they happen in the jhavana moments, right? Okay, so this is actually a person doing some wholesome deeds. Meditation is also considered a wholesome deed. So this wholesome cittas, the ones that we just saw when practicing meditation, are this kind of Rūpāvacara kusala cittas. Then the next category are the Rūpāvacara vipaka cittas. So 5 material resultant cittas. As we have seen in the previous categories, when seed is planted, there will be fruit, right? So these ones are actually the resultant cittas of this kind of wholesome cittas. Okay, and then we have one more category here. Those are the Rūpāvacara kriya cittas, the 5 material functional cittas. Okay, so we will look at each type of them now in details. Now, let's take a look at the Rūpāvacara kusala cittas first. Remember, when there is citta, then there always comes together cetasikas, right? Mental factors. So for jhana cittas, the important mental factors are called the jhana factors. So later on in chapter 2, we are going to study in details of cetasikas, of mental factors. So we previously have mentioned that there are some kind of mental factors that always arise together with any kind of cittas. They are like a must, right? So those that help the mind to function, those universal ones. So we have those kinds, and we have some occasionals, and some that are specific to some kind of cittas, right? So here, the jhana factors are those that are important for jhana cittas. And there are also other cetasikas that arise together, but these jhana factors are the ones that make them jhana cittas. So which are they? Let's take a look. So we have the first one that is called vitakka, initial application. Then we have vichara, sustained application. Then we have piti, joy or pleasurable interest. Then we have sukha, happiness. And we have ekagata, one-pointedness. So these 5 are called jhana factors. So these 5 factors are highly developed when they reach the state of jhana. Now, these 5 factors, these 5 cetasikas and other mental factors, they also arise in the kamavachara cittas. For example, even in the first akusala citta, in the lobha-mula citta, vitakka and vichara, they also arise there. But there, they are not developed. They are not well developed, and they are not strong. But in jhana citta, these 5 of them must be very strong, very well developed, so that they can keep the mind on the kasina object or on the meditation object, whatever object one takes as the meditation object. Okay, so let's take a look of each of them and see what they do. Now, first, vitakka. Vitakka is translated as initial application. That means the initial application of the mind to the object. So we have the first one, vitakka, and then we have vichara. Vichara here is called a sustained application. So it is like vitakka stretches towards, like brings the mind towards the object, and then vichara holds it, takes hold of it. Now, this word vitakka and vichara, we find these words also in the suttas, but the meaning might be a little bit different. Now, vitakka in suttas is usually means thoughts, thinking processed. But in the Abhidhamma, it does not just mean thoughts, but it is a mental factor that brings the mind onto the object, like stick the mind to the object. It directs or it takes the mind towards the object. So that mental factor here is called vitakka. And then vichara, it's also a technical term here, because vichara, if you find them in suttas, they may mean like investigation or pondering upon something. But here, vichara does not mean that. It is actually a Nabitama term here. It is a mental factor which keeps the mind on the object. So vitakka and vichara are two different mental factors which are concerned with taking the mind to the object and keeping the mind there. So if we look like bringing the mind there and then keeping the mind there, it seems like vitakka and vitakka arise first, and then vichara follows it, right? Like going there and then holding it. But actually, in the jhana cittas, these two cetasikas, they arise together. They actually occur at the same time within the this jhana consciousness. So the example given by the teachers is like if there is something dirty on this tray, then vichara wants to clean it, but then we have to first hold it. So in this case, vitakka is the hand that is holding it, and then vichara is the hand that is cleaning it. So they both happens together. So the holding and the cleaning. Vitakka and vichara. So they happen at the same time. Not vitakka first and then vichara later, but they happen together. So another example given in the commentaries is like a potter. When he's making a pot, then he turns the wheel and makes the pot. Like when he's turning, then this one hand is holding on the clay, and so this is like vitakka holding onto it, and then vichara is shaping or molding the pot. So it's also at the same time. So this is examples given by teachers to let us understand how they arise together at the same time. Okay, so that's about vitakka and vichara, these first two jhana factors. Yes, Edith?
I just wanted to ask, how can we tell if these jhana factors are developed for us?
If they are well developed.
Are very weak?
Mm.
Yeah, if they are either weak or developed.
Now, vitakka and vichara, they bring the mind to the object, right? So when we meditate, if we are talking about our practice, then when we meditate, if the mind can stay in the object for a long time without wandering, without going to other things, then it is starting to develop better and better, because vitakka and vichara is doing its job, is keeping the mind on the object itself. If the mind is looking at the disc and then sometimes it start thinking about like some memories, or it start thinking about something else, then probably is not well developed yet. So because it is still going to another place, right? So if the mind can stay with the object for a long time, then this is when vitakka and vichara is starting to get well developed. But then for jhana to arise, we still have to have piti, sukha, and ekagata. All of them, 5 of them must be in balanced, very well developed and in well balanced before jhana citta can arise. So for piti, sukha, and ekagata, what kind of characteristics they have, that we're going to look at it now. Okay? All right. Yes, Terawa.
So does it mean when we talk about concentration in regards to meditation, it's basically split into vitakka and vichara?
Concentration?
Is that right? Yes.
Well, actually, concentration itself is ekagata, one-pointedness. We are going there. So because the mind, concentration itself is actually, this mental factor is ekagata, is in charge of concentration. But then, of course, when the whole mind is very concentrated, vitakka and vichara is also important, because it is initially, it takes these mental factors for one to for the mind to grasp the object. No, but then later on, in higher stage of jhana, this vitakka and vichara is not necessary anymore. So concentration, when we talk about concentration is actually this mental factor, ekagata. Okay, we are going to talk about more about ekagata coming now, so maybe it will be clearer. Okay. All right. Okay, shall we continue? Yes. Okay. Okay. Now, then let's go to piti, the third jhana factor. So piti, this word actually, it is translated as joy or pleasurable interest. Now let's take a look at the Pali word. Piti is derived from the verb pi, meaning to refreshed. So when there is piti, one feel refreshed. So this is actually like a pleasurable interest on the object. So the mind is joyful, is interested on the object. So this is joy, piti here, another mental factor. Now let's take a look at the other one, which is sukha here. Sukha is translated as happiness, but actually it is a pleasant mental feeling. And this is not the sukha that we have seen previously that is related to the pleasant mental feeling that arises through the body. Remember when we studied the ahetuka cittas, those kusala vipaka, the resulting consciousness of wholesome deeds, then those it's associated with sukha feeling. No, here, although this word is the same word like sukha, meaning happiness, but here actually it is not this one that is related to the body, but it is somanasa actually. In terms of Vedana, it is a pleasant mental feeling. How is it? So this is actually unworldly happiness, a kind of unworldly happiness when it is associated with jhana. So this is a pleasant mental feeling born from the detachment of sensual pleasure. In Pali, it is actually called niramisa sukha. This amisa means material things, and niramisa means non-material or free from sensual desire. So this kind of happiness arises because of detachment of sensual pleasure. So this is not the type of sukha that we have previously seen. So sometimes we have to see the words, Pali words, according to context. In different contexts, it can mean different things. So here we have to understand that sukha in ultimate reality is actually Vedana, somanasa Vedana. So pleasant mental feeling. Okay. Now, then we may see what is the difference between piti and sukha then, right? So piti itself is actually one cettasika itself. There is a cettasika that is called piti. And then there is another cettasika here, as we just said, is actually Vedana, right? Vedana, somanasa Vedana here. The sukha is in ultimate reality mental feeling, Vedana. Now, the difference here is like piti is compared it is very interesting. Like the teachers, many times they use examples that it's easy for us to understand. So piti is compared to a delight, the delight of a very tired traveler. When he say this person, he's traveling in the desert and he's so tired, and then he met another person who told him that in front, just not very far away, there is an oasis. And as he approached this place, then all this time he's experienced that this delight that he's going to find an oasis and he's going to get water soon. So that kind of joy before he actually reached there is called piti here. And now how about sukha? Sukha is like actually when he actually arrived there and then he drinks the water and then he may take some rest there under the shade of a tree. And at that moment, he is experiencing sukha. So piti is the enjoying or the anticipation before, and sukha is while you're actually enjoying it. Okay, so that's the difference between sukha and about piti and sukha. Yes, Claudia.
It is possible that this sukha is perceived from the meditator as neutrality. So because it's not any happiness from sensual pleasure, then I guess if it's possible to experience as nor pleasant or nor unpleasant.
Yes, in the fifth jhana, actually, sukha does not arise anymore. And instead of sukha, upekkha vedana arises. but that is a higher level of jhana. So we are going to look at the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and fifth jhana. So in the fifth jhana, as you said, the mental feeling, Vedana there is upekkha, is equanimity, neutral feeling, neutral mental feeling. But for the first, second, third, and fourth jhana is associated with sukha and somanasa. So because when the mind is very concentrated, actually, it feels good. It's very peaceful, and there is a pleasant feeling there. But then later on, in higher stage of concentration, then as you said, then even this sukha can be a little bit like agitating for the meditator when he is in that such a high level, no? So in that case, that sukha is also dropped and upekkha arise in that time, but only until the fifth jhana. So we're going to look at this in more details later, okay? Yes, Claudia? Okay. All right. Okay, so that's piti and sukha. So now we have seen 4 jhana factors: vitakka, vichara, piti, and sukha. Now let's go to ekaggata. Now ekaggata, eka means one, aga means portion, like a part, portion. So ekagga means having only one part. So having only one portion. That means having only one object actually here. So the mind is totally on only one object, on one thing. So ekaggata means the state of having one object. So one-pointedness, right? So this is also a mental factor. And in other places, it is also called samadhi. So when we see samadhi, that means actually in ultimate reality, it means ekaggata. Very well developed ekaggata. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we have all the 5 jhana factors: vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, and ekaggata. Yes, Amar.
Yeah, can you explain or give some example of vitakka and vichara on non-meditative cittas?
Yes. For example, vitakka vichara, when it is actually vitakka and vichara, they happen very often in many kinds of cittas. And those cittas, they are not well developed. For example, in the first lobha mula citta, when we desire something, when we want something, the mind obviously wants to go to the object, right? It wants to go there and then grabs the object of its attachment. So it also happens there. But that kind of vitakka and vichara is not, they are not highly developed in the sense like in the jhana cittas, it stays with the object without wavering, without going here and there. But in other cittas, so when these lobha mula cittas arise, then it also quite sticky, right? It goes to the object and it goes to what it wants and it thinks about it a lot. So that's vitakka and vichara. But because it is not a practice, not a cultivation, they are not strong. They are just like a natural instinct that they want to go and grab the object. So vitakka and vichara in other kinds of cittas also arise doing the function of directing the mind to, if it is lobha mula citta, what it wants. If it is dosa mula citta, to what it hates, or what it is angry about, or what it doesn't like, right? So it brings its function is to direct the mind to the object and keep the mind there. Is that okay, Ahmad?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. So it's a little bit early. Do you want to take a break now, or do you want to continue? What does everybody say?
We can take a break.
You can take a break, Mila? Okay. All right. So let's take a 5-minute break, and then coming back, we'll look at the different types of jhana cittas, okay? All right. So 5 minutes. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Okay. Let's continue now with the Rūpāvacara cittas. Okay, so we have seen that there are three types of, three categories of Rūpāvacara cittas. The wholesome ones, which are when we are meditating, actually doing something, planting seeds, and the result of those seeds, and also functional ones, right? Okay. Now, in the Rūpāvacara kusala cittas, so when we are meditating, there are actually different kinds of cittas here. So we have the first jhana citta, second jhana citta, third jhana citta, fourth jhana citta, and the fifth jhana citta. So depending on the jhana cittas, the jhana factors that associate with them and the degree of concentration, then these jhana cittas, they are different, right? So when one first practice, then first jhana cittas is actually like going to school. It's like step by step. First, we have to go to grade 1, then go to grade 2, then grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, like that. So we cannot jump from the beginning to attain the 5th jhana immediately without going through the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th jhana. So it goes step by step. Now, when it gets more and more and refined, that different kinds of jhana cittas arise. And how are they different? So let's take a look. So there are 5 types of Rūpāvacara cittas, the 5 kinds of jhana, according to the accompanying jhana factors. So the first one, in the first jhana, when a person first attained jhana, all these 5 jhana factors are present. So these 5 jhana factors associate with the first jhana citta. Then as the mind gets more concentrated and more refined, in the second jhana, vitaka is not necessary anymore. Now, the higher jhanas are attained by eliminating the grosser jhana factors. So now here, although we say gross or subtle, but actually they are jhana factors that are very highly developed, no? So it appears gross only to the meditator with jhana because it is too close to the mental hindrances. So, for example, the meditator is practicing, and then he is concentrating on his meditation object, and at some point, these 5 factors are very well developed, and the first jhana citta associating with vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, and ekagata arise in him. And then later on, then he got this jhana, and then he continued practicing and practicing and practicing. And then later, he wants to get to a deeper level of concentration, an even higher jhana. Then he thinks that vitaka is a little bit gross. So as long as there is vitaka, it is easy for him to fall back to the mental hindrances. He might think this way, no? So he thinks that vitaka is too busy. The mind has to go to the object again and again. So he concentrates his mind, and then he drops vitaka. And then when his practice get to that level, then what arises? The jhana factors that associate with this second jhana citta, which is only vichara, piti, sukha, and ekagata, arise in him. So then in this stage, he attained the second jhana. So the second jhana is attained by eliminating the vitaka. So vitaka does not arise anymore. Then in the same way, then the meditator continues practicing, and he thinks that vichara is a little bit agitating. So vichara is also being dropped. Then his mind is even more refined, and in this case, only piti, sukha, and ekagata associate with the 3rd jhana citta. So he attained the 3rd jhana. Now, in the 4th jhana, again, the meditator thinks that piti, it has a tiny tendency towards agitation, because when we are like joyful, when we are elated, then sometimes it's like a little bit shaky, you know. Imagine that it is so fine in jhana for the meditator, for his mind, that even this little bit of joy, it can be shaky or agitating for his mind. So the meditator also drops piti in this case when he attained the 4th jhana. Now, the 4th jhana, it's only associated with, they're talking about jhana factors, right? Only associated with sukha and ekagata jhana factor. Okay, now, the person attained the 4th jhana, and he continues practicing. And then when he continuing practice, then he thinks that ekagata is actually very stable and very peaceful. And then he lost interest even in sukha. Then he continues the practice. And when he attains the highest, the 5th jhana, then sukha is no more. And the Vedana here becomes upekkha. So it's neutral feeling. So in the 5th jhana, the jhana factors that is associated there is upekkha and ekagata. Still 2 jhana factors is here. Okay, not somanassa anymore. So the mind gets more and more and more refined. Now we may say that like piti and somanassa and all these mental factors, they are so refined already in the jhanas. How is it that it can agitate the mind, right? But actually, it depends on the quality of the mind. For example, if we take a little piece of sand, I go to the beach and we pick up a little sand, and if we put it on our palm, does it hurt? No, right? It doesn't hurt. Then if we put this piece of little sand and then put it in the eye, does it hurt? Surely it hurts, right? Why is it? Why doesn't hurt here and why does it hurt here? The sensitivity is different, right? The eye is more sensitive, So in the same way, for a normal day-to-day life cittas, let's say kusala citta even, like when we are very happy, it is not agitating. It's nice. We feel it because the mind is gross, right? But when we're talking about this very highly concentrated, highly developed jhana mind, is like the eye. So any little thing can make an influence, can be agitating in those senses. So therefore, even these very refined mental factors are being dropped when the mind gets to higher and higher level of meditative states, right? Okay, so we've seen that 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th jhana associate with less and less mental factors here. Yes, Claudia.
When you drop these characteristic one by one, you make a conscious choice of dropping them, or they come, or naturally they drop by going up from the 1st to the 2nd, or from the 2nd to the 3rd? I don't know if it's clear, my question.
Yes, it's clear. The meditator actually, I think they do make an effort to concentrate further and then drop those mental factors.
I mean, what I want to say is there is determination involved on it.
I have to confirm this with my teacher, but I would say that the meditator, he must know that when he goes higher, then he must drop this mental factor, and then he practice that way. And then whether it is being dropped automatically when he concentrates more, or whether he determined to drop it, I have to confirm it. I cannot answer it right now. I'll go back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, I will get back to you.
Thank you.
Next week. Okay.
No problem.
All right. Okay, so now we have seen that there is the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th jhana. Then one may wonder, like when I read some suttas, then most of the time I see 4 jhanas. So why is there 5 jhanas and why is there four jhanas? So actually, is there 4 or 5, right? Okay, so now actually, if you read in the Sutta Pitaka, then most of the time you will only see 4 jhanas. And when we read in the Abhidhamma, sometimes it says the 4-fold method, 4th jhana, and sometimes you'll find 5-fold methods, 5 jhanas as well. So in the Abhidhamma, the 4-fold method, that means the 4 jhana methods are also mentioned, and the 5 jhana methods are also mentioned. For example, if you read about jhanas in many discourses, let's say in the 2nd discourse of the Digha Nikaya, you only find 4 jhanas mentioned there. So let's see what are the difference between them, right? Okay, now in the sutta and in the Abhidhamma, the 1st jhana citta actually is the same. They're talking about the same thing. So also vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, and ekagata, all these 5 jhana factors are associated with this 1st jhana citta. whether it is in the Sutta, fourfold way, or in the Abhidhamma, the fivefold way. They are the same. Now, the difference comes from the second jhana. In the second jhana, in the Sutta way, Vitakka and Vichara is dropped at the same time. So, in the second jhana that is mentioned in the Sutta, it only associates with Piti, Sukha, and Ekagata, which actually, in Abhidhamma terms, in the fivefold method, is actually the third jhana. Okay, so first jhana, all five. Second jhana, in Sutta way, two of them is being dropped. So that means second jhana in the fourfold method and the third jhana in the fivefold method are actually the same. Just these two are dropped in the Sutta fourfold method. Now, in the third jhana, Piti is also dropped. That means then in the fivefold way, that is equivalent to the fourth jhana. And in the fourth jhana, which is mentioned in the Sutta, and Sukha is also dropped, then only equanimity and Ekagata is there, which is actually the fifth jhana in the fivefold method. Okay, so they are actually talking about the same thing, but only the first jhana in the Sutta Pitaka, the first and the Vitakka and Vichara are dropped together. That is like they jumped, no, well, one mental factor. So that means the second is equivalent to the third, third equivalent to the fourth, fourth equivalent to the fifth in this case. Okay. So that's the difference that you may find sometimes in the fourfold method and the fivefold method. So in Abhidhamma, because things are very detailed, so the classification is more complete, is more detailed. They drop one by one. But because Vitakka and Vichara, they are actually very close to each other. Because as you remember, we just explained that Vitakka takes the mind to the object and Vichara holds it, right? So they are very close to each other, very closely related. So for some meditators, it is possible for them to drop both of them. So therefore, in the fourfold method, it is in this way that it is classified. And in the fivefold method, then one by one. Okay, now, we have mentioned about jhana factor, and about jhana citta. So it is important that we understand the difference between these terms. Okay, so jhana, what does it mean by jhana? Jhana is actually the combination of jhana factors. So let's say the five factors, a combination of the group of the jhana factors. This group together, the combination is called the first jhana, right? So when Vichara is Vitakka is dropped, then the second jhana, then the third jhana, fourth jhana, and the fifth jhana, right? So the combination of jhana factors are called jhana, the whole thing. Okay, and jhana factor, when we talk about jhana factor, jhananga in Pali, we're talking about each jhana factor, each and every of them, no? Okay, then what is meant by jhana citta is actually the type of consciousness which is accompanied by these factors. Those are called the jhana cittas. Okay, so they are different. We have to make sure we understand the different terms, what we are talking about, because later on we will use them differently. No? So jhana, the combination of the jhana factors. Then jhana factor are each of them. And jhana cittas are those cittas, those consciousness that are accompanied by these jhana factors. Okay? All right. So here, when one meditate and attain jhana, these Rūpāvacara kusala cittas arise in the mind of the person. And this type of consciousness are actually only experienced by puthujjanas, meaning non-enlightened beings, and cittas, which are non-fully enlightened beings, when they practice samatha meditation and attain the different stage of jhana, no? When they attain first jhana citta arise. When they attain the second jhana citta arise, and so on. Now, when a fully enlightened person, an arahat, or even the Buddha, when they practice samatha meditation, what happens is that functional cittas of the fine material plane, Rūpāvacara kriya cittas arise in them. Because for an arahat, for a total or the Buddha, the totally enlightened being, they do not plant seeds anymore. And so this kind of cittas is not kusala citta, and they are not resultant as well. They are just functional. They are just jhana cittas. Together also they have the same jhana factors. They arise and then it passes away, arise and passes away without leaving any potency for result to happen, no, to later on. Okay, so when a fully enlightened being meditates, then this type of Rūpāvacara kriya cittas arise in them. So therefore, in the Rūpāvacara cittas, first category is the wholesome cittas arise in the non-fully enlightened beings. And also kriya cittas arise when the fully enlightened being practice. Now let's take a look in the last category, the vipaka cittas, no? Rūpāvacara vipaka cittas. Now, so is the seed and so is the fruit. They are actually identical. So you see that the first jhana citta, the resultant citta, resultant consciousness of the wholesome citta of the first jhana is also called first jhana, no? First jhana resultant citta. So they are identical. The mental factor, jhana factors that is associated are also identical here. Okay, so each Rūpāvacara cittas has the same number of mental factors as the Rūpāvacara kusala cittas. So for example, here, vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata, this one resultant also same way. Okay, now according to the Buddha's teaching, we know that there are different beings, no, in the universe, in this world. Surely we know that there are different beings. We have human beings, and we know that there are animals. There are different beings. There are different beings that exist. And there are also actually, according to the Buddha's teaching, different beings that might not be visible to our human eyes. They have different vibrations, right? So according to the teachings, there are 31 planes of existence. Now, sometimes just like maybe X-ray or ultraviolet, we know that they exist, but this naked eye cannot see them, no? So in the same way, there are beings that might not be visible to our naked eyes. So we have first 4 lower realms, then we have the human realm, then we have the Deva realms, then we have the Brahman realms. So that is the 31 plane of existence that is being taught in the teachings. Okay, now, until the Deva plane is what we call the Kamavachara realm, no? The sense sphere. So here, beings that lives in the 4 lower planes and the human planes and the Deva planes, we have the 5 senses, and then we take the 5 sense objects as well. So this is called the Kamavachara cittas, and those cittas that we have studied in the previous few weeks, the Kamavachara cittas, mostly arise here. Actually, only arise here in the sense sphere, in these different realms. Okay, and among the sense sphere, this lower realm is actually called the Kama Dugati, the sense sphere, unhappy existence. These are the 4 lower realm. The beings that are reborn there suffer a lot more than humans do. So Kama, meaning senses, and Dugati, Du actually means like dukkha, no? Like the suffering, the unhappy. Gati means how do you call that? Like the destination, right? The destination of the unhappy existence. So this 4 realm is called Dugati, and we have this Kama Sugati. So Kama sense, Su coming from like Sukha, no? The happy destination. So sense sphere, happy existence. So human realm and the Deva realm are considered Kama Sugati. Okay, then after that, after the Kamavachara sense sphere, then we have the Rūpāvacara. Rūpāvacara, there are 16 fine material planes. So these Rupa Brahmas, they lived in these 16 different planes, and then they have fine material body as well. And then we have arupa, 4 arupa plane, this Rūpāvacara, which are the 4 non-material planes. And beings that are in these realms, they have only citta, without rupa anymore, no rupa. So therefore it's called Rūpāvacara. Okay, so these are the 31 plane of existence. And this is, now here is important to understand that beings that lives in all these different realms are not forever. They have a lifespan as well. Because of cause and effect, because of some cause, they are reborn into the different realm. And after that lifespan is finished, then they can reborn in the same realm, or depending on their karma, on their own action, then they can be reborn into different realms. Like, for example, a human might sometimes, if they do akusala a lot, then they might be reborn into the lower realm. Or if they do a lot of kusala, they might be reborn into the deva realm. If they practice samatha meditation and attain jhana, they might be reborn into the 5 material plane or even the non-material plane. So also the devas or even the brahmas, after that lifespan, then they can reborn again into the deva realm, into the human realm, and sometimes even coming step by step, like going down, can also even into the animal realm or the different realm. So this is not fixed, and that is what we call samsara, and the different, the round of existence, right? Okay, now, so why are we talking about this? Because the Rūpāvacara kusala cittas, so let's say a human being, they practice jhana, and then he attained the first or the second, third, fourth, and fifth jhana. And what happened if this person dies with the jhana intact? What does that mean? That means that he is still able to enter into the jhana easily. That means he didn't lose his ability to attain this jhana. Then when he dies, then same vibration goes to that vibration, right? So because that mind is so fine, the resultant of those cittas are also very fine, and they will be reborn into the 16 fine material realms, actually. So this first, second, third, fourth, and fifth resultant consciousness only happened in the 16 fine material plane. So as a result of this jhana practice, when this person passed away, he will be reborn into the 16, one of these 16 fine material planes, depending on the jhana that he attained. Okay, so these resultant are actually rebirth consciousness for beings who have attained jhana. Okay, so that's the Rūpāvacara kusala citta, this citta that arises in the mind of the person when he is practicing for beings that are non-enlightened or not totally enlightened, right? So this is kusala cittas, practicing samatha meditation and attaining jhana. The vipakas only arise in the 16 fine material planes. That's when the person passed away. Then he will be reborn with this resultant consciousness, will be the first citta that arises in that person to be reborn into the fine material realm. Then Rūpāvacara kriya cittas are those cittas that arise in the mind of a totally enlightened being when he or she is practicing samatha meditation and attaining jhana. Okay, so totally for the Rūpāvacara cittas, we have 15 Rūpāvacara citta in this category. 5 kusala, 5 resultant vipaka, and 5 kriya cittas. Okay, so until here, we have finished all the Rūpāvacara cittas. And then next week, we are going to go to the Arūpāvacara cittas. Arūpāvacara cittas, cittas with characteristics of the non-material plane. Okay, so that's for next week. And then now we still have some time before we have some new questions. I'd like to answer one question that Edith asked last week about the panatipata, about the beings whether Panatipata refers to only breathing being, living beings that breathe.
Breathing, yeah.
Breathing being, yes, breathing being. So let's say like some bacteria that are in our body, and those they are not breathing beings. And so if we take some medicine and then kill those bacteria, that is not considered breaking the precept of killing. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
These cittas, right? Can they arise by the vipassana meditation as well, or only with the samatha meditation?
Rūpāvacara cittas, jhana cittas.
Yeah, jhana cittas.
Jhana cittas only arise with samatha meditation. Only when one attains jhana, not with vipassana meditation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So with vipassana meditation, the aim or the goal is a little bit different. For vipassana meditation, when it is well developed, actually magga and phala cittas arise. Those are the enlightenment cittas. So after the Rūpāvacara cittas, we are going to those Lokuttara cittas, supramundane cittas, and at that time it will be clear. Now here, I also want to share something else, which is important, so that we know. Sometimes when we see the word jhana, there are actually two types of jhanas. One type is called, is related to object. Sorry, this Pali word, just give me 1 minute. Let me just... because I don't want to tell you something that is not correct. Just give me 1 minute to make sure that this Pali word is correct. Where is it? Okay, it's here. Okay. Okay. Yes. So there are two types of jhana. One type is called Aramanupani jhana. I write this Pali word in the chat box so everyone can see. And then another one is called Lakhanupani jhana. Okay, so Aramana means object, right? So this Aramanupani jhana means the jhana. This jhana means like concentration, right? When we see the word jhana, the J, it means concentration or looking very deeply and concentrated on something, yeah? So Aramana means object. So the first type, Aramanupani jhana, means the mind is very concentrated on the object. In that case, that means through samatha meditation, the person concentrates into the object, and this jhana citta arises in him, right? So he's attaining jhana. So that type of jhana is referred to those samatha meditation. I mean, those jhana that is attained through samatha meditation. Okay, so this one is one type, and another type is called Lakhanupani jhana. Then Lakhana, this word Lakhana means characteristics. Here, actually, it refers to the three characteristics, three universal characteristics, anicca, dukkha, and anatta, no? So the unsatisfactoriness, the impermanence, and the non-self, these three characteristics, universal characteristics. So in this case, when we practice vipassana meditation, the mind also concentrates looking very deeply and very closely to the characteristics of any phenomena that arise in the mind, right? So in this case, this jhana refers to actually vipassana meditation, because the mind is concentrated on the three characteristics of the phenomena, no, not on the object itself, but on the characteristics. So this is important for vipassana. So when we see jhana, sometimes in the suttas, sometimes if we see that, let me find out this. Actually, there is a quote here. Sorry. Okay. In the Dhammapada, verse 276, it says, You yourself must make the effort. The Tathagatas are only proclaimers, those who have entered the path and examined it closely by jhanas will get free from the bonds of Mara. So Dhammapada verse 226, if we just read it, then we will say that it is actually quite strange, because how come it says that those who enter the path examine it closely by jhanas get free from the bond of Mara? That means get enlightened. So we all know that it's not possible to get enlightened through jhanas, right? Through the practice of samatha meditation. So here in this verse, we have to understand this jhana. Actually, the Pali word actually used in this verse is jayino, meaning that those who experience jhana, no, those who practice jhana. But here, the jhana that it refers to is actually Lakhanupani jhana, closely examining the characteristics of the phenomena, not the object itself. So it does not mean the jhana attained through samatha meditation. So we have to understand there are two types of different jhanas. So whenever we read the suttas or we read the Dhammapada or other things, we have to see the context and understand what jhana or what is actually being meant in that case, no? Okay, so otherwise, if we see the word jhana, we always think that this is the jhana attained through samatha meditation, the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth jhana, then we might misunderstand the suttas, no? Okay, so this is just for your information. Yes, Edith.
So I probably have questions from the 9th chapter. So
Okay.
First question that came to my mind often, like, why just certain colors and not other colors? So why, for example, I think green, blue, white, yellow, I think these are the colors and not other colors. And I have a second question.
Okay. So actually, I don't know. So I have to ask my teachers and I will come back to you.
Sorry, may I say something?
Yes, please.
I don't know if this is the truth, but I believe because this color are the primary color, like the other color is a mixture of this color. For example, for make the violet, you need the green and the red. I don't know which exactly now.
Red and blue, yeah.
But yellow is in a primary, red is in a primary, and also white.
But green, I think,
So
is
I think
primary. Green, I
green
think
is
green
not.
is not. Yeah, green is not. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, that could be might have something to do. Well, I will ask my teacher and get back to you.
We were speculating on with Alper that might be because of nature, like it's a color of nature for us and it's calming. Like the grass is for us, it seems green and so. Anyway, second question then. So my second question would be like which one has to develop in these cases. I think it's the kasinas in these cases when one wants to develop an abhinya, mental power.
Abhinya actually it's only attained after the fifth jhana, the highest jhana. So in that case, there are some kinds of meditative object, and the 40 objects of meditation. Some does not attain, cannot lead one to any jhana. Some can only to the first. Some can only to the to some degree because of its characteristic. But what I can tell you for sure is the anapana. The mindfulness of breathing goes to the highest. It can go to the highest jhana and attainment of abhinya as well. But the mental process of abhinya is a little bit different, actually. So, yeah. So when we get
yes.
to...
Yes. So the reason I'm asking, I think I read somewhere like if one wants to go through objects or something, then Earth Kasina is the object. So I didn't know that any type of fifth jhana would work.
Well, to develop the fifth jhana, to develop abhinya, first the person must attain the fifth jhana and then continue practicing for abhinya. And then the abhinya process, mental process, while he's performing the abhinya, the supernormal power, it's different than the mental process when he is meditating. It's different because he's actually doing something, right? So here we require a little patience until chapter 4. Then we will study all those mental processes of like how it is being performed. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, Delawa.
My question is also about kasina. Are there any particular kasinas for different persons? Like this one is more suitable for this kind of person?
Right. Yes. In the scriptures, I'm not sure where it is mentioned, but in the Visuddhimagga, it does mention that there are different characteristics of different person that might be more suitable for which person, more suitable for which type of practice. For example, a person who gets angry all the time, then maybe metta meditation is good for him. And like this, different characteristics. For example, a person who is a lobha type of person, a lot of greed and desire, then asubha practice, which is the contemplation of the non-beautiful aspect of things, that might be suitable for that person. So there is this suggestions in the Visuddhimagga. So if you are interested, I will, because I don't remember the whole list actually, so I have to look for it and then I can send it in the chat group.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm wondering if it's possible, let's say for a person who is not per se meditating formally, to accidentally attain one of the samatha jhanas. Sort of, I'm thinking of that story of the Lord Buddha as a young boy watching ox, etc. Can you talk a bit more about this?
Yes. So as far as I know, it's as long as the person is concentrating his mind on the meditative object, then it is possible for jhana citta to arise. Even he might not know the Dhamma, he might not know about the jhana factors, he might not know about vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, or like that. But if he is practicing, if the method is correct, if he's concentrating the mind, then it is possible for jhana. I think it is possible for jhana to arise. But he must actually make an effort to concentrate his mind on the practice. No, he must actually practice something. So it is accidentally we mean the not possible in the sense that it's not possible that a person is just like lying down looking at the sky contemplating and then he suddenly got jhana. Then that is quite unlikely. But if the person is trying to meditate, is trying to concentrate his mind on something and putting an effort into practicing something, then it is possible to attain jhana, even he doesn't know that it is called jhana, let's say. Mm-hmm.
So how about those musicians, right? They who plays the instrument, they are very focused and concentrated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can one of these jhana citta arise on?
I think it is unlikely because the music keeps changing. It's not the same object that he is putting his mind concentrated on one thing. No, he might get to a quite a high degree of concentration on the music or on something that he is doing. But for jhana citta to arise, one must really the one-pointedness on the one thing is quite important, right? So I think it might not be that easy.
two questions I have. The first one is if an arahant or an enlightened being practicing the jhanas, and he cannot, he doesn't have karma because he doesn't have any. I mean, what I want to say is the jhana process happen to him or no?
Mental process, okay. In a mental process, there are some cittas that are called javana cittas, right? So it is not called a javana process, but it is called a mental process, right? So in the mental process, in the javana moment, those are the moment that we are doing an action, right? So for a non-enlightened being, either kusala or akusala or can arise. Even jhana is kusala cittas, no? We just saw that Rūpāvacara kusala cittas, right?
Yeah.
It happens in that range of the javana moments. And for an enlightened being, those jhana cittas, which are kriya cittas, functional cittas, Rūpāvacara, functional cittas arise in the same place, but they do not leave any potency for giving result. But it happens.
But the length of the moment is the same then.
It
not
depends.
for them. It's not faster.
It depends, because for a person that enters jhana, in the initial process, in the chapter 4, we are going to look at all the mental process, how it works when it is jhana, when it is enlightenment. So at that time, it will be clear. But just very briefly to answer your question, like in the initial process, when the first time he attained the first jhana or second jhana, when he first attained, then that mental process is the same. But then later on, when a person decided, for example, he decided, I would stay in this jhana for 5 hours. So throughout that 5 hours, jhana arise in him, no? So it depends. So many jhana cittas arise non-stop in this person when he is inside the jhana, right? So the length will be different if a person decided to stay for 1 hour, if a person decided to stay for 5 hours or 1 day, or so it depends. It varies.
Yes.
No, but bhavanga that doesn't exist in the jhana, is that right?
The what? Sorry. Bhavanga citta arise when the person come out of jhana.
Yeah, I'm talking about during jhana.
During jhana, no. During jhana, only jhana.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes.
Is it possible with Caraṇapālī jhana to a person have absorption?
No, because when a person is, you mean when he is in jhana, like samatha jhana, right? So when he is in
Caraṇapālī jhana, on the characteristics jhana.
Right, but those
I mean vipassana jhana.
Yes, but that is actually, this word jhana, the Pali word jhana means contemplation, right? Contemplating. So when it is Caraṇapālī jhana, is actually not in what we call absorption.
Yeah.
Only his mind is, the ekagata is so strong that it is like jhana, as strong as the jhana, his concentration, that samma samadhi, right? Samma samadhi, right concentration. Samma samadhi is so strong that he used this strong concentration to contemplate on the vipassana object, on the 3 characteristics of nama and rupa, no? So he's not in absorption at that time. So practicing vipassana. So that is different. So what I want to say is, when we look at this word jhana, it does not always mean absorption jhana. It can mean like very high degree of concentration of samadhi in the case of vipassana.
Mm-hmm.
So if a person yes, sorry.
Ask more about this.
Yeah, can I just finish a little bit and then we go there, Chia? So when a person is in jhana, samatha jhana, the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and if he wants to contemplate vipassana, he must first come out from that jhana And then he used that very strong, highly developed concentration. And then he direct his mind to nama and rupa. You see, the object is different. When he is contemplating, when he is in jhana, his object might be kasina, might be the breath, might be a concept of something, no? But then when he comes out of the jhana and then he contemplates, he changed it to vipassana, then the concentration might be as strong, but now he's taking nama and rupa as his object if he wants to practice vipassana. So he's actually he came out already from that jhana absorption state, and then he changed to vipassana. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Chie.
So I'm wondering, with our practice in the Mahasi tradition, sometimes the mind can become much quieter eventually, and it feels like you are not noticing, so many different objects.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, for a long time you might just be watching the rising and falling of the belly.
Mm-hmm.
So just to clarify, but this is still different from samatha jhana. You wouldn't say you're now in absorption or anything like that.
Yes, it will be different. Yes. Actually, in the Mahasi practice, it says the arising of the belly, the rising and falling of the belly, and that contemplation is, you can find it in the four foundations of mindfulness, the Satipatthana Sutta. In this case, our teacher said it can be included in the Iriyapata practice, like the movement of the body. So the contemplation of that one. So that Satipatthana is for vipassana meditation. Okay. Yes, Claudia, you still have some... Sorry?
But Satipatthana does also cover Anapana, right? If you go to Sutta, it talks about Anapana as well.
Yes,
and
Anapana is also there. It's also part of, like in the Satipatthana, it explains many different ways to concentrate the mind. But then eventually the Satipatthana is for vipassana. So it does not actually goes to as far as jhana. It concentrates the mind for the purpose of clear understanding, no?
No, I thought in Satipatthana there is a mention of all these four jhanas, right? In Satipatthana Sutta, I think when it talks about the Anapana, it talks about first, second, third, fourth jhana as well.
I have to check again. I don't remember very well right now. Then I have to go back and take a look and get back to this. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yes, Claudia, you still have some questions?
So basically the only purpose of practicing samatha is to burn out the 5 indriyas. This is the purpose of it. There is no other purpose, no?
Not really, because the purpose of practicing samatha meditation is the calmness of the mind, the burning out of the 5 hindrances. Burning out meaning temporarily burn out. Remember, not uprooting them. Okay, so temporarily suppressed it. Yeah. So for practicing samatha meditation, to attain jhana, first that those hindrances must be suppressed. Then jhana can arise. Then when jhana arises, then the mind is so powerful and so sharp and so concentrated that then from there, if one turns to vipassana meditation, then the mind is very powerful, and it is so much for those practitioners that to contemplate nama and rupa, it could be very, very, very extremely helpful, because their mind is so sharp, so they can see the ultimate reality more easily and more clearly.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I understand now. My other question is, like the human being experience, we know more or less how is the span of the life. like let's say 0 to 100, right? But on the other realms, there is this. We know how long it is.
Yes, more or less. We will go to that in later when we talk about the different realms, different beings. We will talk about their lifespan as well. So
also another question, like because a human being need to die in order of be reborn in some other realms, right? Because we have a body. But other being, how is work this one? Because they don't have a body, so they. Sorry?
They also die.
Okay. All right.
So there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there is a type of citta that is called Chuti citta. That is the death consciousness. So that marks the end of one lifetime, and then the rebirth consciousness, which arises right after that, marks the beginning of another life. So for a Brahma being, even those beings without a body, but mind arise, no, the citta continues arising, and then so at the end of that lifespan, then Chuti citta arise, and then Patisandhi, the rebirth consciousness arise, and then he is in a new life.
All right, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so today we have finished the Rūpāvacara citta, and then next week we are going to look at the Arūpāvacara citta, and if we have time, we'll also look at the Lokutara cittas, the supramundane cittas, which is enlightenment cittas, and with that, then we are almost completing all of the different types of cittas. Then we will go to the mental factors in the next chapter, which are those ingredients that goes into the different kinds of cittas. No, so we are going well, and thank you very much for your patience. And the Abhidhamma study is a long study, so little by little we are gathering information, gathering data, and with time, things will be more and more clear. And we will have a better, fuller picture of what we call ourselves, no, actually Nama and Rupa, right? Okay, so if you have no more questions, then we'll finish a little bit early today, so you can have some time to relax and prepare for your next class. Yes, Edith?
There is another question.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry, because you don't have the video. I didn't see you. Sorry. Yes.
Oh, no problem. Yes. So I have a question about what goes into the different thought moments when one is experiencing the Lakhanupani jhana, because as you mentioned, it is a form of vipassana as well. We see the characteristics of conditioned phenomena. So how does the thought moments look like? Is it like all jhana, or are there actually vipaka and bhavanga and all that?
No. Actually, in the when we are talking about vipassana practice, so when a person is practicing vipassana, then the mind, the cittas that arise in his mind is actually kusala cittas. Right, he's contemplating. So kusala kamavachara, because the object that he takes is nama and rupa, right? So these are sense objects. Yes. So his kamavachara kusala citta is arising in his mind when he's practicing vipassana. So kamavachara kusala arise, and when he attained, actually, when the mind gets enough powerful, the wisdom and samadhi and the noble eightfold path, like all the factors are developed until a very high degree, then magga citta arises in him. That's the path consciousness. That's when the person get enlightened, actually. So before the person get enlightened, when he's practicing vipassana, is kamavachara kusala cittas arise in him.
Okay, I see. Okay. But in that case, because as you mentioned, it's contemplating on different sense objects, right? Contemplating on anicca, dukkha, anatta. So if there is no sort of like sensing, like the sense consciousness, and also maybe the sense door averting consciousness and all that, that goes into the mind, and how does one perceive?
Of course there is. Of course there is, because there are mental processes, no? So it depends on. It's not like jhana when he's practicing jhana. Then when he's in the absorption, then he's jhana, right? So it happens a long time. But when he's practicing vipassana, so he's actually having a lot of mind door processes. And those mind door processes, of course, it does have the bhavanga also arise, and then the mind door adverting consciousness also arise. Then, depending on what kind of object he's taking, then also if he's contemplating vipassanas, and most of the time, then kusala chitta arise, then bhavanga arise again, then other like a lot of mental process, mind door mental process arise in him.
I see. How about sense? Sense door.
Possible if he's contemplating, let's say, on rupa, on the eye. Let's say he's seeing something. He's understanding that how eye consciousness can arise because of the because of eye sensitivity and making contact with the object. And so, if he's contemplating on rupa, then of course, five door process also is possible for him. And the person also can get enlightened while he's walking, right? So he is seeing something, he's hearing something. So many different processes arise in the mind of that person when he's practicing vipassana.
I see. So in the case of Caraṇapālī jhana, so does that mean it's going to be continuously just jhana cittas, or like you mentioned, there will be perhaps some sense of process, sense of citta, vipaka, and so on and so forth?
Look, this Caraṇapālī jhana is not actually the jhana that we usually know. It is not absorption. So, Caraṇapālī jhana, what I want to say here, why I mentioned this is because there is the word jhana. And then what I want to emphasize is that this jhana does not mean absorption. So, Caraṇapālī jhana only means that the mind, the person is very concentrated and looking very closely to the characteristics of different phenomena of nama and rupa. So it's actually not the jhana that we usually know, but the word jhana is being used here. So we have to be careful. That's what I want to say. So it's actually not jhana. When we talk about the samatha jhana, that first jhana, second jhana, that one is actually Aramanupani jhana. So that one is the absorption that we usually know as jhana. So in Caraṇapālī jhana, there is no jhana citta that arises at all. It does not arise at all.
Okay. There's the Kamavachara kusala cittas.
Exactly.
Feels the javana moments. And everything else.
Kamavachara kusala citta, contemplating on the characteristics of nama and rupa.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome. Okay, so so if there is no more questions, then we will stop here today, and we'll see you again next week. Then let's close by dedicating our practice for more wisdom to arise, and also sharing merits to all beings. Okay. Itam no punyam magafala jnana sapacheyo hotu. Itam no punyam magafala jnana sapacheyo hotu. Itam no punyam magafala jnana sapacheyo hotu. Itam no punyam sabasatanam pajima. Itam no punyam sabasatanam pajima. Itam no punyam sabasatanam pajima. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sadhu.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you.